First contact and assessment. The monitoring station D7 orbiting the outer rim of the Cygnus sector wasn't designed to make history. Its primary function was routine. Scan for anomalous signals, catalog potential life-bearing worlds, and report back to Galactic Union headquarters. For 300 cycles, Station D7 had performed this task without incident. That changed when Senior Monitor Zulax, a methodical Valerian with scales the color of twilight, noticed something peculiar in the transmission logs. Station Director, Zulax called, multiple eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of Valerian confusion. I'm detecting unusual communication patterns from an unremarkable yellow star system in Sector 3. Director Thela, an ancient Morrigan whose translucent membrane pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, glided across the monitoring chamber. Unusual how, Monitor Zulax. The signals contain entertainment broadcasts, military communications, and something called social media. But the content is, Zulax paused, searching for the right word, chaotic. What followed was the first documented encounter with humanity's digital footprint. The station's analysts watched in bewilderment as humans simultaneously broadcast philosophical debates, cat videos, military encryption tests, cooking competitions, and scientific discoveries, all seemingly without coordination or central purpose. "They've split the atom," reported Kryn, the station's technology specialist. But they're using the technology to power devices that primarily display dancing humans and arguing politicians. "They've achieved spaceflight," added Velax, the xenobiologist, "but they're mostly using it to place satellites that help them find restaurants and argue with strangers." Director Thela's luminescence darkened, the Morrigan equivalent of a troubled frown. "Prepare a comprehensive report for the Union Council. Flag it as Priority Alpha, potential emergent spacefaring species." 3 cycles later, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Union, a massive spherical room where representatives of 400 species convened, the Union Council convened an emergency session to discuss humanity. High Chancellor Morveth, a Centaurian known for unflappable calm, had read the observation reports 5 times before addressing the assembly. His 4 arms were folded in the posture of deep concern. "Colleagues," his resonant voice echoed through the chamber, "in my 3,000 cycles of service, I have never encountered a species assessment quite like this one. Humanity appears to be simultaneously on the brink of self-destruction and remarkable advancement." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices until Ambassador Pearl of the Delvian Confederation raised a calming pheromone. As the chamber quieted, she spoke. "The technological assessment is particularly troubling. These humans have created artificial intelligence, but primarily use it to generate images of mythological creatures and predict consumer behavior. They've developed quantum computing but deploy it alongside systems vulnerable to what they call phishing, a primitive deception technique that nonetheless works with alarming regularity." Admiral Korv, the grizzled military commander whose species communicated through controlled electrical discharges, sparked vehemently. His translator rendered his thoughts. "Their military development follows no logical progression. They have orbital kinetic weapons but still deploy ground troops with projectile firearms, whose basic design is centuries old. Their special forces train by simulating ancient combat techniques. They call it returning to basics, as if technological regression were a tactical advantage." The xenocultural specialist, a gentle Lumerian named Eri, whose floating body resembled an iridescent jellyfish, pulsed softly before speaking. "Yet their creativity is undeniable. They've created more art, music, and literature in their brief civilization than many species produce in thousands of cycles. Their problem-solving methodology appears disorganized, but produces remarkable results. They call it thinking outside the box, as if conventional approaches were constraints to be escaped." For 27 rotations, the Council debated humanity's fate. 3 options emerged: immediate quarantine until humanity either matured or destroyed itself, covert infiltration to guide their development, or official first contact. The decision came when an unexpected crisis forced their hand. The hive vessels of the Dracari, mindless planet-consuming organisms, appeared at the edge of human space, on a direct course for Earth. "We cannot allow a potential Union species to be consumed," declared High Chancellor Morvath, "especially one with such unique attributes. Prepare first contact protocols." The first contact team, led by Ambassador Xilana, a diplomatic specialist with experience in 17 first contact scenarios, approached Earth with meticulous caution. They transmitted universal peace signals on all frequencies, positioned their vessels in non-threatening formations, and prepared for the carefully choreographed diplomatic dance that had successfully inducted dozens of species into the Union. Humanity's response defied all protocols. Before the contact vessels reached optimal communication range, they received transmissions from 15 different Earth governments, 7 independent scientific organizations, and a popular streaming service offering an exclusive documentary deal. 2 smaller craft, military vessels according to Union scans, approached in what analysts described as an unnecessarily complicated flight pattern that appears to be showing off. Ambassador Xilana's report to the Council was succinct. They'd bypassed 26 steps of standard contact protocol, invited us to something called a global mixer, and a human governing body called the United Nations has already drafted preliminary alliance terms, including trade proposals for something called streaming rights. The Dracari crisis compounded the chaos. When informed of the approaching threat, human military leaders requested technical specifications of Dracari biology, Union weapon capabilities, and historical combat data. Rather than panic, they initiated what they called a war game, simulating dozens of combat scenarios with disturbing enthusiasm. General Kira Chen, Earth's United Defense Force commander, surprised the Union tactical advisors during the strategy session aboard the diplomatic vessel. After reviewing the Dracari threat assessment, she didn't follow the expected response of requesting Union protection. "So these Dracari are essentially biological machines with a hive mind control system, correct?" General Chen asked, studying the holographic display with narrow eyes. "Correct," replied Admiral Korv. "They cannot be reasoned with or deterred, only destroyed or avoided. And conventional energy weapons have limited effect because of their distributed neural network. Precisely why we recommend immediate evacuation of your out." "What about electromagnetic pulse weapons?" interrupted Chen. "If they're biological machines with networked systems, a sufficiently powerful EMP could disrupt their coordination." Admiral Korv's electrical patterns flickered with surprise. "EMPs would affect our defensive systems as well. The collateral damage." "Not if we modify the pulse frequency to target their specific neural patterns," Chen continued, already working on a datapad. "We've been developing adaptive EMP technology for cybersecurity defense. If you can provide the exact frequency range of their neural communications." What followed was humanity's first contribution to galactic security. Operation Blackout. Using Earth's satellite network, reconfigured with Union technical specifications, they created a targeted electromagnetic disruption that severed the Dracari hive mind connection. The previously coordinated Dracari vessels fell into disarray, allowing Union forces to eliminate them systematically. High Chancellor Morvath watched the battle telemetry with all 4 hands pressed together in a gesture of profound contemplation. They improvised a solution that our military strategists didn't consider, using technology they barely understand, modified with principles they learned hours ago. "Should we be impressed or terrified?" asked Ambassador Prill. "Both," replied Morvath. "Definitely both." 3 rotations later, humanity was granted provisional membership in the Galactic Union, the shortest assessment period in Union history. The official record cited exceptional circumstances and unique strategic contributions. The unofficial addendum, accessible only to Council members, was more candid. "Humanity appears determined to join the galactic community whether invited or not. Provisional membership allows for monitoring and guidance while we assess their full capabilities and potential threats. They are either the greatest allies we could hope for or the most unpredictable variable introduced to galactic stability in 10,000 cycles. As the diplomatic vessels prepared to leave Earth orbit, Ambassador Xilana observed a curious human tradition called a farewell party. Humans from various nations gathered, sharing food, music, and something called jokes while discussing future cooperation with alarming confidence. "We're looking forward to seeing what's out there," said Dr. Maya Rodriguez, Earth's newly appointed Union liaison. "Humanity has always dreamed of the stars. The universe is vast and often dangerous," cautioned Xilana. "There is much you don't yet understand." Rodriguez smiled. A gesture Xilana had learned indicated either amusement or predatory intent. "That's the exciting part, isn't it? Finding new problems to solve, new possibilities to explore." As Ambassador Xilana returned to her vessel, she added a personal note to her official report. "They see the unknown not as a threat to be managed, but as an opportunity to be embraced. I cannot decide if this makes them brilliant pioneers or dangerously naive. Perhaps both. The universe will certainly be less predictable with humanity in it." The Galactic Union was about to discover just how true that assessment was. The Azrathi conflict. 2 Earth years after humanity's admission to the Galactic Union, the emergency beacons across the Orion Arm activated simultaneously. The ancient enemy of the Union, the Azrathi Dominion, had returned from their self-imposed exile beyond the galactic barrier. The Grand Chamber of the Union Council, normally a model of orderly discourse, descended into chaos as reports flooded in. 3 border outposts destroyed, 5 colony worlds under siege. The Azrathi dreadnoughts, massive living ships that consumed energy directly from stars, had been spotted in 17 sectors. High Chancellor Morvath called for order with a gravity that silenced even the most panicked representatives. The Azrathi have violated the ancient accord. After 5,000 cycles of peace, they have chosen war. We must respond with unified purpose. Admiral Korv presented the Union Defense Fleet strategy, a coordinated response using conventional tactics that had proven effective in previous conflicts: containment, targeted strikes against command vessels, and defensive perimeters around population centers. The human representative, Ambassador James Chen, brother of General Kira Chen, listened attentively before raising his hand, an unnecessary human gesture that nonetheless had become familiar to the Council. "Admiral," said Chen, his voice measured but confident, "your strategy assumes the Azrathi will follow predictable engagement patterns. What if they don't?" "The Azrathi are bound by rigid hierarchical protocols," replied Admiral Korv, electrical patterns conveying mild annoyance. "Their tactics haven't changed in 10 millennia. "That's exactly my concern," Chen continued. "Any strategy that hasn't evolved in 10,000 years is overdue for revision. What if they've been planning this return all along? What if they've anticipated your response?" The chamber fell silent as the implications registered. It was Uri, the Lumerian xenocultural specialist, who finally spoke. "The human raises a valid concern. Stagnation invites vulnerability." What followed was unprecedented in Union history. The human military advisor was granted temporary authority to propose alternative strategies against the Azrathi threat. General Kira Chen arrived at Union headquarters 12 cycles later, bringing with her a team of Earth's most unconventional strategic thinkers, a mix of military specialists, game theorists, cybersecurity experts, and even several writers of what humans called speculative fiction. Their approach shocked the Union military command. "Conventional warfare isn't working against the Azrathi," General Chen explained during the first strategy session. "Their living ships adapt too quickly to energy-based weapons, and their hierarchical command structure makes them predictable but also resilient. We need to change the rules of engagement." "Change the rules?" Admiral Korv sparked indignantly. "War doesn't have rules to change. All conflicts operate within assumed parameters," countered Dr. Eliza Wong, a human game theorist. The Azrathi expect you to fight in certain ways because that's how you've always fought. What if we introduced variables they cannot predict? Their proposal was designated Operation Wildcard, a multi-layered strategy that violated virtually every established Union military doctrine. It called for decentralized command structures, randomized engagement patterns, and the deployment of what humans called asymmetric warfare, utilizing smaller forces in unexpected ways rather than matching strength against strength. Most controversial was the proposal to use the Azrathi hierarchical nature against them. Their rigid command structure is both a strength and a critical vulnerability, explained Commander Marcus Singh, a human cybersecurity specialist. If we can introduce conflicting commands into their system, we create cascading confusion. The Union Council debated for 3 full cycles before approving a modified version of Operation Wildcard. Even then, approval came largely because conventional approaches had failed to slow the Azrathi advance. Implementation began immediately. Human engineers worked alongside Union technicians to develop what they called ghost signals, false command transmissions that mimicked Azrathi authority patterns. Special operations teams, mixed units of humans, and various Union species deployed behind enemy lines, targeting communication nodes rather than military assets. The most radical element of Operation Wildcard emerged during the battle for the Centauri Gateway, a strategic wormhole nexus that would give the Azrathi access to the Union core worlds. Traditional Union doctrine called for concentrating defensive forces at the gateway itself. Instead, General Chen proposed what she called a reverse honeypot. "We don't defend the gateway," she explained to the stunned command staff. "We make it look vulnerable. Meanwhile, we position our actual forces here and here." She indicated points that seemed strategically irrelevant, creating a pincer that only activates after they commit to the gateway approach. "You want to use our most critical strategic asset as bait." Admiral Korv's electrical patterns conveyed utter disbelief. "I want to use their expectations against them," Chen replied calmly. "The Azrathi believe you will defend the gateway with everything you have because that's what you've always done. When they encounter minimal resistance, they'll suspect a trap, but not this trap. They'll be looking for an ambush within the gateway itself, not a delayed envelopment from supposedly insignificant positions." Against all traditional wisdom, the Union fleet implemented the plan. The result exceeded even the most optimistic projections. The Azrathi command vessel, anticipating resistance at the gateway, diverted significant forces to counter a non-existent ambush within the wormhole structure. When their forces were committed, the hidden Union ships attacked from unexpected vectors, causing confusion in the rigid Azrathi command chain. Simultaneously, the ghost signal operation reached its culmination. Conflicting orders flooded the Azrathi network, causing individual vessel commanders to act without coordination for the first time in their species' history. The decisive moment came when a small human-led team managed to infiltrate the Azrathi flagship using what Captain Sophia Reyes called social engineering. They had analyzed the Azrathi communication patterns and mimicked maintenance vessel signals so perfectly that they were granted access to the flagship's secondary bay. Once aboard, they implemented the final phase of Operation Wildcard, not a conventional attack, but the introduction of a modified information virus into the Azrathi Central Command System. The virus didn't attempt to destroy their network, but subtly altered the priority flags of incoming information, causing the Azrathi leadership to make decisions based on distorted intelligence. Within 6 cycles, the seemingly invincible Azrathi offensive collapsed into disarray. Individual vessels, unable to reconcile conflicting commands, either retreated or surrendered. The Dominion fleet, the most feared military force in galactic history, was defeated not by superior firepower, but by what humans called thinking laterally. In the aftermath, the Union Council convened a special session to recognize humanity's contribution. High Chancellor Morvath's address was transmitted across all Union worlds. "The conflict with the Azrathi has taught us an invaluable lesson," he declared, 4 arms extended in the gesture of profound acknowledgement. For too long, the Union has relied on established protocols and proven methods. Stability and predictability served us well in peace, but became liabilities in crisis. Our new human allies brought something we had forgotten: the virtue of adaptability. Ambassador Chen accepted the Council's formal commendation with characteristic human modesty that many Council members still found puzzling. "We're just glad we could help," he said. "On Earth, we have a saying: necessity is the mother of invention. When conventional solutions fail, you have to get creative." Later, in the more private setting of the Chancellor's reception chamber, High Chancellor Morvath engaged Ambassador Chen in a candid conversation. "Your species' contribution has been invaluable," Morvath acknowledged, serving Chen a cup of what humans called tia, a ceremonial gesture he had learned facilitated open discussion with humans. But many Council members remain concerned about humanity's sometimes cavalier approach to established protocols. Chen smiled slightly. "Innovation often requires challenging assumptions, Chancellor. Humans have a complicated relationship with rules. We need them for stability but question them to grow. A perspective that makes you both invaluable allies and unpredictable variables," observed Morvath. "Perhaps that's our greatest strength," replied Chen. "The universe is unpredictable. Shouldn't at least one species in the Union specialize in navigating uncertainty?" As the gathering concluded, Admiral Korv approached General Chen with the formal electrical patterns of professional respect, a significant evolution from their early interactions. "Your willed card strategy saved countless lives," the Admiral's translator conveyed, "though I still maintain that your methods are unnecessarily complicated." Kira Chen laughed, a human vocal expression that still startled many Union species. "Admiral, if there's one thing you should know about humans, it's that we're rarely elegant but surprisingly effective. We make a mess, but we get results." In the updated Union Species Registry, humanity received a unique classification never before assigned in the database's long history: critical ally, strategic innovation specialists, supervision recommended. The unofficial addendum, visible only to Council members, added, "Humanity serves as both catalyst and caution for the Union, breaking patterns that need breaking while requiring vigilance to prevent unforeseen consequences. Their methods are chaotic, but their intentions honorable. The Union is stronger with humanity among us, though the course ahead will certainly be less predictable." As humanity established embassies across Union space, a popular saying emerged among Union diplomats: "When conventional wisdom fails, consult a human, but be prepared for the solution to create interesting new problems." It was a compromise the galaxy was learning to live with.